all these analysts, economic people, economists, whatever they want to call themselves, Cory, they don't know. And so 61% claiming a recession, they all got it wrong. Every last one of them was wrong. Wrong.
Welcome to Upticks with Jake Falcon, founder and CEO of Falcon Wealth Advisors. In this podcast, we help high net worth individuals overcome financial complexities. We do this by enhancing financial literacy and discussing topics in a language free from industry jargon. Join us as we help explain exactly what having a solid financial plan means, as Jake draws from years of experience in helping hundreds of individuals get financially organized and focused on their goals. We hope you find Upticks educational, entertaining, and shareable. Now, on to the show.
Welcome back to Upticks with Jake and Cory. Cory, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me. I like the round of applause at the beginning. I could get used to that.
Right. So do you have anything new going on in your life that you want to share with the millions of potential viewers/listeners to today's episode?
Yes, my wife, Jake, this coming weekend has her baby shower. Our daughter's due in June 13th. So Cassie has her baby shower this weekend, which we are excited for. And I am happy and excited and humbled to announce that I was asked, Jake, by my alma mater to give a commencement speech at graduation in May this year.
Credit to that, Cory. Now,
real quick on
the baby shower. Are you invited to that, or is that a female-only deal?
So it is for Cassie's female friends. I will show up for the latter half of it. I think some people do couples baby showers.
So is it a couples or no?
No, it's not.
Then why are you showing up at the end? Are you just showing up to clean?
Happy wife, happy life, Jake.
Why are you showing up at the end?
To say hello. To say hello to Cassie's friends, her family, my family, everybody who's going to be there.
Okay. A little weird, isn't it?
I don't think so. I did the same thing in our wedding shower.
You showed up at the end?
Towards the end, like the second half of the event. You know, we'll sit around, Cassie will open some gifts, this and that. I'll help, pick up.
And then you show up at the end? That's just weird to me. If it's a female-only deal, shouldn't it just be female-only?
Talk to Cassie.
Happy wife, happy life. Well, and congrats on giving your commencement speech. So is that to the entire graduating class? Is it just the business school? What is it?
Yeah, so the particular speech that I will be giving is for all of the graduate students across all of the different colleges. So basically,
and you don't have a graduate degree, right?
I don't.
That should be in your speech.
That's right. Like I'm up here giving this speech and I didn't get the degree that you all just are getting.
Did I ever tell you this real quick? And we'll go on today's episode. I got a quick story.
Please.
My bachelor's graduation at University of Texas, San Antonio, I forget who the person was, but it made me so, I didn't get that mad, but I was a little disappointed. Basically, they said, Cory, at this college graduation, it's not what you know, it's who you know. It's basically saying you just spent all this money and you spent all this time furthering your education, and that doesn't mean it. Basically, it's what they said. It was like
without
really
the right
stupid.
Connections, it's worthless.
The speaker was just stupid. Like it was not well thought out. So I would challenge you to think about what you say, because believe it or not, those students are going to probably remember it. Hopefully, if it's good, they're going to either remember it if it's good or if it's bad. And if it's in the middle, they won't remember it.
Yeah, I hope on a podcast like 15 years from now, one of those students is not like, Cory said the dumbest thing at our commencement.
No, I'm not calling that person dumb.
No, I know.
I'm not calling him dumb, but for a kid graduating college to hear that?
Yes.
What's wrong with this person? Anyways, all right, let's go on today. So we got a couple. Well, you and I actually wanted to talk about something first.
Yes.
And why don't you cue it up?
Yeah, so the topic to talk about here, Jake, is diet and exercise and the similarities between investments, and financial planning. Some people treat planning and investing exclusive of each other, and we think they go hand in hand like healthy living.
Yeah, didn't you? So you're in my office the other day, and I don't even know how this got brought up. Do you remember? You brought it up, didn't you?
Yes. Yeah, we were talking about as we talk about on the show too, right? Tax planning, of course, is part of it, but the financial planning and the investments are really, where we spend and focus our time and energy for our clients. And you and I were having a conversation, Jake, about how some people prioritize one of those a whole lot more than the other.
Right. And they, so again, somebody will come in to review and they might only care about their investing or investment return. That's like saying you only care about what you eat, but you sit on your couch for 20 hours a day and don't do anything physical.
Yep.
And the other person might say, all I care about is the plan. I don't care about the investment return. Well, that would be like, running 4 miles a day and eating 30 Twinkies. Right. So that's where
Yep.
you and I kind of went on this little soapbox together, as we were saying they go hand in hand. So just like your physical health is very important, and in order to obtain physical health, you have to eat properly, you have to stay hydrated, you have to exercise, right? Same thing with your finances. You can't just do one or the other. You've got to have a well thought out financial plan,
Yes.
understanding that it's going to change and be dynamic. And you've got to have a well thought out investment portfolio, understanding it's going to change and be dynamic. But the point is, those two pair well together, just like diet and exercise pair well together. And so I thought that was a good point that we wanted to bring up for our audience, is that we don't want our listeners or our viewers to get too hung up on their performance, just like we don't want them to get too hung up on their plan. They should have a focus on both of those, just like with your physical health. You need to get exercise and you need to eat correctly. And ideally, then that'll create a good environment for you to be physically active, physically healthy, and live a comfortable, healthy lifestyle. Any other
I think
thoughts on that? It's a good one.
Thank you. I think you explained that really well. And that is well said, Jake. It did come to me while we were talking here this morning, though, that really actually what prompted this conversation that you and I were having was a comment that I made to you, which is that a lot of people who do what we do tend to treat the investment component as like an afterthought, like, oh, just go buy index funds or just go buy go buy whatever the benchmark is. And the point there is, like, if in order for us to do our job for our clients, we cannot treat investments or financial planning as an afterthought, because you can have, if you have the best investment returns, your financial plan should probably work, but you could have the best financial plan in the world, but if you don't have the investment returns, it probably won't work. And the point there was that it's just treated like an afterthought by too many people who do what we do.
Yes, good point, Cory. Yeah, you're right. We did talk about that. And I just actually put something in one of my stories, is that if you buy an index fund, this is again our opinion, but if you buy an index fund, you're basically saying you are comfortable owning the bad, the good, and the ugly, all of it. You own all of it. And that's just like what we were saying. That's just like saying, Cory, I'm going to go eat and I'm going to eat anything I want.
Go to the buffet.
Yeah, I'm going to eat jelly
salad.
beans, Snickers. I'm going to eat fruit. I'm going to eat steak. I'm going to eat salad. Yep. I'm going to eat it all. And that's what an index fund is. And we think that's garbage. Like, nobody would probably, well, I shouldn't say nobody. There probably are people that do live that way, but you shouldn't. If you want to eat a healthy lifestyle, you wouldn't eat that way. So why would you invest that way?
Yep.
Good one, Cory. I'm glad you brought that back up, and that's good. And so, again, the takeaway is we want to build a custom portfolio, almost like a custom meal plan, right, for you. And then we want to have a financial plan just like you would have an exercise regimen. So again, you wouldn't go, and you also wouldn't go say, Cory, that I'm going to go run a marathon, play basketball, swim. I'm going to bike, like I'm going to play golf. Like, you wouldn't just try to do all the sports. Right. No, you would pick a few that work for you, and then you would line up your meal plan. Anyway, so like if you're a bodybuilder, you're going to go probably eat a lot more protein to build up your muscle mass. But if you're trying to run a marathon, you're probably going to eat a little bit leaner, so you're not as big and bulky and heavy when you're running. So again, all those things line up. I thought it was really good, and we wanted to point that out today in Upticks. All right, let's go to the next one here. So we had a listener send in a question. So thank you to the person that sent this in and said, I have a question for Cory and Jake. I recently started contributing $6,000 a year to my Roth IRA a year, along with 14% of my pay going to my Roth 401k. Plus the company match is 3%. Okay, Cory, so they're putting $6,000 in a Roth IRA, and they're putting 17% of their income is now going into a Roth, or I guess 14% is going into the Roth, and 3% is probably going pre-tax. He says, I owe roughly $66,000 on my home mortgage on a 15-year fixed at 2.75%. Good for him. Would I be better off paying an extra $6,000 on my mortgage a year to pay it off quicker, or sticking with the extra money to my Roth IRA? This person's 35 years old with a wife and one kiddo. Now, full disclosure, Cory, we don't like to give advice on this show.
Right.
So what is your general comment to this question? And a good question it is.
To keep it simple, my general comment would be that if your investment returns in that Roth IRA are exceeding 2.75%, prioritizing the Roth IRA over paying down the mortgage more quickly makes financial sense.
Yeah. So if we're just using this as a math problem and not financial advice, you're right, Cory. So if this person's Roth IRA is averaging them 6% a year and the mortgage debt is only costing them 2.75, then you're right. Mathematically, if you pencil that out and run it out over the next 15 years, as long as your Roth IRA averages that 6% or whatever it is, you should come out ahead from a financial standpoint doing that. But the reason we can't give advice on this show is that we would also want to check in with this person's psychological standpoint. Or maybe they also have credit card debt, or maybe they want to buy a second home, or maybe they're doing college savings for their kid. So we got to understand, by paying off that mortgage early, what would that allow them to do? And if there's nothing, again, specifically in mind, mathematically, one would suggest to put that extra money in the Roth. But thank you for sending in that question. Really, the takeaway is if you want us to get into the weeds, simply email service@falconwealthadvisors.com, and we are happy to schedule an appointment with you to just ask a few more follow-up questions to be able to give you that advice, because we certainly can do it.
Yep.
All right, good. And speaking of reaching out to us, thank you to all of our subscribers, our followers, our views. Everything keeps continuing to increase. Special shout out to Luke, our communications manager. Yes. If you're not getting our weekly email and you'd like to be on our weekly newsletter, we do have more content in there besides just Upticks. You can simply email Luke at falconwealthadvisors.com, and Luke will make sure you are subscribed to our weekly email newsletter, Cory, that comes out on Tuesdays around 10 o'clock Central.
Excellent.
All righty, let's get into today's topics, Cory. Here we go. Jamie Dimon and Ray Dalio warned of an economic disaster that never came. What now?
Yes, Jake, I read this recently. This was in the Wall Street Journal. And what I wanted to point out here, this is interesting, that in 2022, Jamie Dimon warned that a, quote, hurricane was going to hit the U.S. economy. And in 2023, Ray Dalio predicted that a, quote, debt crisis after a, quote, perfect storm of economic pain. In early 2023, this is a good reminder for where we're standing in 2024. About a year ago, early 23, economists predicted a 61% chance of recession. They were all way off, and the economy has functioned just fine in light of higher interest rates, which is what many experts did not see as a possibility. So the big point here, though, Jake, and what I thought was really interesting.
It's funny.
Thank you. It is funny. At the end of the article, they stated that basically these people who have made these predictions and have predicted that tough times are ahead, say that difficulties are still on their way. So basically they are doubling down when it seems to me that acknowledging we can't predict the future, we can't see into the future, we can plan accordingly would be the right course of action. I just thought it was interesting to make a bold prediction, to be completely wrong, and then to double down on that prediction instead of acknowledging an inability to see the future. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's stupid. It drives me crazy. You know, again, Jamie Dimon's the head of one of the biggest banks in the country. Ray Dalio's the heads of one of the biggest hedge funds. I'm not saying these people are stupid. I think they are stupid, though, to make these bold predictions. And then, like you said, they just claim them again. So all they're saying, Cory, is that something bad's going to happen, something bad's going to happen. And they keep saying it until we get a pullback. And they're like, oh, yeah, Jamie Dimon predicted this, Cory. He's a genius. No, he's not.
Yeah.
He's not. He may be a genius, but he cannot predict the future. So that's what I think is stupid. All these analysts, economic people, economists, whatever they want to call themselves, Cory, they don't know. And so 61% claiming a recession, they all got it wrong. Every last one of them was wrong. And so I agree with you.
Keep cooking, Jay. Keep going. You're doing good.
I just think it's dumb. I think so. My point is, clients, listeners, viewers, you and I, we should not pay attention to these predictions. In fact, Corey, I've gotten so bold when I get an email about the future of this, the prediction of that forecast, I just delete. I don't even look at it anymore. I delete it because it's stupid. It's a waste of my time. Right now, clients are always going to ask what our outlook is, but I'm always going to tell them what we know today and what we're doing today. But yes, I know an election's coming up this year, but I don't know what the outcome's going to be. Right? I don't.
And then we don't know how the market's going to respond to that outcome.
We don't know exactly. So what can we do? We can be diversified, right? We can own growth and value stocks, large and small stocks, domestic and international stocks, commodities, real estate, right? We can own an adequate amount in bonds and cash to cover any recession or economic stressful environment, right? We can do those things, but we can't predict the future. And neither can Jamie Dimon, and neither can Ray Dalio, and neither can your mother, sister's brother's dog, right?
It might not stop him from trying, though.
So I'm glad you included it, Corey. It's a good, fresh reminder. I wish sometimes a journalist would call them out and say, you got this wrong. Why are you predicting this again? I would love to hear that, but nobody ever does that.
Yeah, there's probably a reason for that.
Yeah. All right, let's go on the next one.
Moving on. 9 reasons your 401k is underperforming, according to financial advisors.
All right, Corey, humble brag here. I was quoted in Yahoo Finance, and basically they submitted a request for some advisors to weigh in on why individual 401ks may be underperforming to their peers. And so there's some important takeaways here. Is one, you've got to create a financial plan before you invest in your 401k. Otherwise, you're just throwing darts at a dartboard. You don't really know what your goal is. And again, going back to our early analogy here, if you have a weight loss goal, you usually say, I want to lose 10 pounds, 20 pounds, whatever, or I want to be able to bench press 200 pounds, whatever it is. But you typically don't just start eating healthy without some sort of plan in place. So again, that's what a financial plan does. It's going to allow you to structure some goals. Then you line up your investments with that financial plan. And ultimately, you should be able to track your 401k performance against a target rate of return. And that's really what's important when you're setting up your 401k. Now, there's some other things to pay attention to, Corey, which are fees and how the funds are allocated. But again, it's important. Don't pay too much attention to your neighbors or your coworkers or your colleagues or whatever the hot trend is and anything that doesn't line up with your plan, right? So if your financial plan says you don't need to own cryptocurrency for your financial plan to work, then don't worry about owning cryptocurrency, right? Don't get caught up in these trends or these fads. And if your neighbor's making 20%, or they claim they are, you got to be careful with that too. They claim they're making 20%, don't get caught up in that. Again, as long as your investments are growing in line with your target rate of return, which is in line with your financial plan, that's what a 401k is for, and that's how it should be handled. You have any thoughts on that?
Good work. I'm glad you were included in this article, and I think that you've highlighted what is most important here today. The only item that I want to add to that is what I find fascinating about this, and exactly what you're describing, Jake, today, is that investing for the short term and for the long term and financial planning, it's interesting to me how many people will follow sort of rules of thumb as far as investing goes, or will take the temperature of coworkers or family members or friends or whoever it is, and then use that information to make important decisions as it relates to their situation. The following those rules of thumb is really not what the advice is going to be ultimately to any clients. And I know we're not giving advice here, but the point there is this should all be done on a much more of an individual and a custom level than I think most people probably approach it or even think about it, because people just think about, well, what does my coworker do? Or my aunt or my uncle or my brother, whatever it might be. That doesn't matter. It should be about what you need to do.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, don't read some article or, oh, well, my coworker's got it in this fund. He's smart. I must put it in there too. Doesn't work that way. Again,
Correct.
Your investments need to line up with your plan. I like it. Good one here. Let's go to the next one. All right. So what's ahead for Social Security in a Biden-Trump showdown?
Yes, this was from Barron's, and it talked about how President Biden has come out and has said that he is going to protect and strengthen Social Security. They also pointed out that President Trump recently said there's a possibility of cutting entitlements, but the campaign ultimately did later say, Jake, that Social Security and Medicare are protected. Both sides were very short on specifics, which of course they were, but targeting benefits, Social Security benefits for current recipients is going to be a political disaster, and both political parties understand that. So the real takeaway from this article, I thought it was interesting to read. My takeaway was, what role does Social Security play in my financial plan or your financial plan? Have you created a My Social Security account at socialsecurity.gov to understand what your benefits look like? And then rather than make speculative decisions, understand how your benefits are going to fit into your financial plan and roll with the changes as they come, because it could be a decade before anything changes. So if people are making decisions in the short term based upon what could happen or the lack of specifics that a politician is providing, I would stay away from that and focus on controlling what you can.
Yeah, really good. I read this article also, Cory. I think it also pointed out that today Social Security would be at a deficit if they don't do something by 2033, I believe.
Correct.
And it's not that it'll be zero. You might just get 70% of your benefit. It
Yeah,
also
I think it's
talked
a little
about
over 20% was the haircut if nothing changed.
yeah, 20, 30%, somewhere in there. And then also, if you're over the age of 45, I think, or 50, they said that you would be grandfathered into any changes. There's some simple things they can do. They can start taxing people that make over $400,000. Right now, there's a cap. So once you make a certain amount of money, you don't get taxed on it anymore. So they could lift that, which wouldn't be popular, but they could do it. Or they could extend that full retirement age, which again would allow people to get a reduced benefit if they apply for it earlier than their retirement age. Or full retirement age for somebody born, I believe, after 1960 is around 67 years old. So they could push that up. So there are some small tweaks they can make. The scary part, though, Cory, is relying on Trump or Biden to solve this. So hopefully both of them have surrounded themselves with some smart people that can figure that out and that we get a good solution, because something needs to change. Something needs to happen, but we don't know what it's going to be. So
I can't help but wonder if during the next election cycle, Jake, in 2028, we're going to be talking about what could happen with Social Security, and nothing will
probably
change over the next 4 years.
Oh, I mean, you don't know, because
No.
we just
Well,
talked about
sure.
that. You can't. If I was a betting man, I would say that they're going to wait till 2030 before they have to do something, right? So they're just going to keep kicking this can down the road. They're going to bring it up now as something to debate and argue over, to scare people, probably to scare people into voting for them. I don't think there'll be a solution until 2030 or closer or later. So
Yep.
we'll just have to wait and see.
Just imagine if we started with the solution and then backed into who has the solution you want to vote for, instead of here's the problem, vote for me, and then we'll come up with the solution.
Right. That would be way better.
It's neither here nor there.
Yeah. Let's go to the next one.
All right, Jake, the new rules of home buying in a changed market. Tell me what you got.
Yeah, so you saw this, right? It's big national news, Cory, that they are going to change the way that real estate agents charge commissions on home buying. And a local attorney actually won that case. And did you see, I don't know if you watched this, I think it's all called Last Call on CNBC. They had him on there. They had the attorney that won arguing against this hotshot real estate agent from like LA. And Cory, they were going at it hard on the news.
I'll have to look for that.
And, the takeaway, I just bought a house and I got very fortunate because I didn't really have to pay my agent much at all. The seller paid it all. But the attorney made a good argument. He's like, where else do you buy something and somebody else pays that fee for you? He's like, it doesn't happen that way. So I'm not saying that real estate agents are necessarily under or overpaid. I'm saying the structure of the payment, I agree with the change. I agree that it needs to be changed. So, but there are 5 things here to understand when you're out there shopping for a home. Number 1 is understand your commissions, right? So if you are a buyer, you're probably going to have to pony up. That's the only kicker. You're probably going to have to pay more than you did before. And hopefully the sellers maybe pay less. You got to know your mortgage rates are higher right now. So you got to factor that in and understand that. If you want to chime in on any of these, feel free, Cory. The third one is to shop around for home insurance. So again, you can go to ideally an independent insurance agent so that they can shop all the carriers and just make sure you're with a reputable firm, obviously, but you want to shop for that home insurance. There's a big, shift going on, new construction versus old construction. New construction is nice because maybe you get in there Cory, before the kitchen is built. And so you don't have to remodel a kitchen. You get to design it that way. A con with new construction, according to the article, though, is that in a new house, you might have some issues that you didn't know of because it's brand new, right? As the house
Right.
settles, the plumbing, electrician, like electrical, sometimes all that stuff doesn't really work like you would think. And then the last piece or the point here, the new rule is have a plan to sell your old home if you own already, right? So go into like, you have to understand that your old house might not sell as quickly. So you want to make sure that if you're going to be stuck with two mortgages, that you can cash flow it. The last thing you want to do is go buy another home and you can't
Mm.
afford the mortgage payments, because then you're going to really, and then you might have to dip into your 401k or something, and that's, you want to avoid that as much as you possibly can. So, and I thought it was a great article. Again, the housing market is changing, prices are changing, interest rates have changed, and now commissions are changing. So you've got to be informed as a consumer before you go buy a house of what's going on here. And certainly lean on your friends at Falcon Wealth Advisors. We can help talk about all of these things with you and at least give you some things to think about as you're going into buying or selling a home. Any thoughts on that, Cory?
You just talked about home prices, interest rates, commissions, et cetera, all changing. The other thing, Jake, that's changed is the insurance market. So just a quick call to action here for people who are watching or listening. You talked about, Jake, visiting with an independent agent. If it's been many years since you've evaluated your insurance relationship, we at Falcon Wealth Advisors have connections with independent insurance agents that we can connect you with to see if you have the best product at the right price, and at least evaluate what the market looks like, because it's changed a lot too. So rather than just being complacent, I would encourage people, if they are interested in that, if they haven't looked at it in a long time, let us know. We can help get you connected with the right people.
Good call to action, Cory. Good call to action. Yeah, let's review those insurance policies. Make sure you're getting the most bang for your buck in there. Perfect. Let's go on to the next one here. We've got time for two more, Cory. Number one here, the Billionaire's Guide to Doing Taxes. Wow. You got a lot of billionaire clients, Cory?
I don't have any, but this article was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to read, but I wanted to point a few things out here that I thought would be useful, especially in light of a number of the conversations that you and I, Jake, have had on the show previously. So this was from Vox, is the platform where this article was published. And basically the 5 points that they made here, the Billionaire's Guide to Doing Taxes: 1, don't take a paycheck. 2, plan on losing money, intentionally accumulating losses through the year. 3, play tax rate arbitrage, which is, basically realizing losses on the short term and gains on the long term as far as capital gains go. Treat everything as a business expense, and philanthropy pays. And my takeaway from this, Jake, and the reason I wanted to bring it up is, while it was fun to read, if you are not in a position to check all those boxes, to not take a paycheck, to lose money, to give money away, to treat everything as a business expense, et cetera, most people are not in the position to do that. So if you are not in the position to do that, which I'm not either, Jake, the reality is that it's best to let go of the illusion that you can get away without paying any taxes, but do tax planning annually to minimize your obligation.
Really, really good, Cory. Yeah, we talked about this at length, is that, the people with, net
It's
worth
literally
of,
Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. And I mean,
no,
that's
no,
who
no,
they're
no. I was going the
in the
other way.
article.
I was going
Oh,
the
go
other way.
ahead.
The people with 500,000, a million, 2, 3, 5, $10 million net worths, they are typically far ahead of the typical American, and they think that they should get the same tax treatment as a Jeff Bezos, like you said. So again, these billionaires are in a different stratosphere when it comes to financial planning and tax planning specifically. And you're right. If you can't afford to do all those other things, I think you made a comment once that, like, most people aren't rich enough not to pay any taxes, right?
Correct.
So,
Which
and
is funny. That's pretty much what the article said too, Jake.
well, and I would argue though that even those rich people pay taxes. They still
Correct.
pay a lot of tax. They still pay, like,
Yes.
you may think they're paying zero, but they're still paying it one way or the other.
And lifetime
And
taxes paid, absolutely.
yes, it all adds up and it all comes around. I mean, again, I haven't met anybody that enjoys paying their taxes. However, if you're paying a high tax bill, it's not necessarily a bad thing as long as you're doing tax planning and you're paying the least possible. But if you still have a high tax bill after meeting with your CPA, after going through our tax planning process, well, you know what? It means you made a lot of money. And sometimes That's what you got to. That's what you got to do. What does it say? I think in the Bible, pay Caesar's what is his, or what is that? Do you know that quote?
I don't know exactly. I don't want to.
Give to Caesar what is his, and I think give to God what is his. So it's like, look, the government is going to tax you. You got to pay it. And if that, we've talked about this also, that's the price you pay for a civilized society. And I don't like it. I don't like people having to overpay. I don't like having to pay taxes, but I understand why I do it. And I just move on.
I just liked, Jake, this article, the lead. The very start of it was, do you want to pay less taxes? Great. Step one is to be a rich person. Then buy a yacht or a sports team, give a lot to charity, lose money in the market. That's literally how this starts.
Yeah. So again, let's do tax planning though. Let's meet with your CPA. We're going to do our part. Don't get me wrong here. We're not just going to ignore it, but just know that you're probably not going to pay zero. It's just not going to work that way probably.
Yep. One other quick point, real quick here on that.
You could hold on. You could cheat. You could lie and cheat the system, and then you could get audited and have a horrible, horrible road to go down. So again, my CPA, not that I'm not suggesting, but I talked to him about it. I say, look, what are these people, some of these people want to be really aggressive. He's like, Jake, it's not worth it. And again, not for my situation. I'm just saying, I asked him because he's a CPA. I was like, do you have clients that want to be really aggressive with the tax code and try to cut corners? He's like, I always tell people it's not worth it at all. The money you save is not worth the heartache and the headache if you get caught. And he's like, people may cheat and get away with it. They might. But if they get caught, it's horrible. And he's like, it's not worth it. So I like that about my CPA. But go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, the one other real quick point I just wanted to make that I did appreciate from this article, though, is they literally said for the wealthiest people, taxes aren't a springtime affair with a quick visit to the local accounting firm, but a year-round endeavor. And that is true whether or not clients are billionaires. And I think that's true for our clients in the tax planning process that we talk about.
Yeah, really good point. Yeah, so good one there, Cory. I'll give you another round of applause on that one. So
I'll take it.
I'm going to save our next topic for next show because we're running out of time. So the viewers and listeners will have to tune in next time to hear what we're going to talk about. But quick update on that. So another call to action, Jake Cross with our Falcon Wealth Advisors Financial Planning Group, he is going to be sending out a notice to all of our clients. I believe he said the end of April. They'll also check in September. But we want to do that tax planning. We want to check in a couple times a year in addition to your financial planning meetings to go through that process and see if there's ways that we could improve on your lifetime tax. Again, we're not giving tax advice here. That's for your CPA, but we are going to do planning and look for opportunities to hopefully improve your situation. So good one, Cory. Thank you for including this article. That is all the time we have for today. Thank you for being on today's episode, and thank you all for tuning in. We hope you have a great week.
Thank you for listening to Upticks. Click the subscribe button to be notified when new episodes become available. Also, be sure to visit our website, falconwealthadvisors.com, and click the Contact Us button if you'd like to meet with Jake and his team.